The first thing I noticed was the silence, thick, deliberate, and unnatural, like the pause before a storm breaks something you didn't know was already cracked. It settled over the backyard the moment my sister leaned down, lowered her voice, and smiled that smile. The one she only used when she wanted to hurt without witnesses. My daughter froze mid-step, her small hand slipping out of mine, and then the words landed, soft, sharp, and surgical. No room for your discount store kids at this party. For half a second, the world didn't move. Then my daughter turned and ran. I watched her pink shoes blur across the patio stones, watched her shoulders shake before the sound even reached me. I felt something in my chest split open, not loudly, not dramatically, but with the quiet certainty of a fault line finally giving way. The party was supposed to be a fresh start. That's what I'd told myself while ironing my only decent dress that morning, smoothing the wrinkles like I could smooth the last 5 years of my life. It was my sister Nadine's 40th birthday. Lavish, curated, dripping with money she'd married into and never let anyone forget. White tents, imported flowers, waiters in black vests carrying glasses that cost more than my weekly groceries. I hadn't wanted to come. But my mother had begged. Just show up, she'd said. People will talk if you don't. People always talked anyway. I was the older sister, the one who had so much potential. The one who married for love instead of security. The one whose husband slowly disappeared into long nights, then debt, then excuses, then nothing. The one who ended up divorced, working 2 jobs, raising a child who learned early not to ask for things. Nadine, on the other hand, collected milestones like trophies. House before 30. Husband with a last name that opened doors. Friends who wore linen and laughed softly. A life that looked like it had never known fear. I should have known she wouldn't let me forget the difference. My daughter, Lily, was 9. Sensitive. Observant in the way children are when they grow up watching adults calculate survival. She had begged to wear her favorite dress, one I'd bought on clearance and altered myself at the kitchen table late at night. She'd twirled in front of the mirror that morning, eyes bright, asking if she looked pretty enough for Aunt Nadine's party. I'd said yes without hesitation. I hadn't known how fragile that yes really was. After Lily ran, I stood there alone, surrounded by people who pretended not to hear. Nadine straightened, her smile returning to polite, socially acceptable proportions. Kids will be kids, she said lightly, already turning away. This is more of an adult event. I wanted to scream. Instead, I followed my daughter. I found Lily crouched behind Nadine's oversized hydrangea bush, hugging her knees, gasping for air like she'd been pushed underwater. When she saw me, she tried to wipe her face fast, embarrassed by her tears. She said I don't belong, Lily whispered. Is it because we're poor? The question gutted me. I held her, breathing her in, feeling the heat of her small body against mine. No, I said too quickly. It's not you. It's never you. But the truth burned in my throat. Because it was about us. About the way my life had unraveled while Nadine's had expanded. About how easy it was for people to confuse money with worth. I took Lily home early. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. That night, after Lily fell asleep clutching her stuffed rabbit, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at my cracked phone screen and the stack of unpaid bills. My reflection in the dark window looked older than I felt. Tired eyes, tight mouth, a woman always bracing for the next blow. I told myself to let it go. To be the bigger person. To protect my daughter by teaching her resilience, not revenge. But something had shifted. Something irreversible. And as my phone buzzed with a message from Nadine, "Don't be so dramatic. You always make things awkward," I realized this wasn't just about a party. It was about years of silence. And I was done swallowing it. What I didn't know yet was that Nadine's smirk had opened a door, one that would force every secret in our family into the light. The next morning, Lily didn't want to go to school. She sat at the edge of her bed, pulling her socks on and off, her face carefully blank in a way that scared me more than tears ever could. "Do you think Aunt Nadine tells people things about us?" she asked quietly. "Like, that we're embarrassing?" I knelt in front of her, heart pounding. "Why would you think that?" She shrugged. Kids repeat what their parents say. There it was, the echo. The way cruelty travels without ever needing permission. After I dropped Lily off, I sat in my car longer than necessary, gripping the steering wheel, breathing through the pressure building behind my eyes. I was late to my morning shift at the insurance office, a job that paid just enough to keep us afloat, but never enough to feel safe. I'd already used up my goodwill. Another late mark could mean losing hours. But I couldn't move. For years, I'd told myself Nadine was just different, blunt, competitive, that her little jabs weren't worth addressing. That family peace required sacrifice, usually mine. Now I saw the cost. At lunch, I checked my phone and saw photos from the party already circulating online. Nadine in a white dress, laughing. My mother beside her, beaming. Captions about perfect nights and family goals. I wasn't in any of them. Something inside me hardened. That evening, my mother called. She didn't ask how Lily was. She didn't mention the insult. She sighed and said, "You really embarrassed your sister by leaving like that." That was the moment it clicked, the pattern, the favoritism, the way I'd always been asked to bend so others could stand taller. "I didn't embarrass her," I said carefully. "She humiliated my child." A pause. Then, "You're too sensitive." I ended the call. That night, while sorting old paperwork, I found something unexpected tucked inside a folder of tax documents, a copy of my late father's handwritten notes. I hadn't seen them in years. Numbers, dates, names, including Nadine's, and mine. As I read, my pulse quickened. There were references to a savings account, one I'd never known about. An account created shortly before my father died. Divided equally between his daughters. Except I'd never received anything. I remembered the chaos after his death. How Nadine had helped handle things. How she'd insisted it was easier that way. My hands shook as I dug deeper, calling the bank the next day during my break, voice steady through sheer force of will. When the representative confirmed the account, and the fact that it had been closed years ago, funds withdrawn in full, I felt cold spread through me. Withdrawn by Nadine. She'd taken everything. Suddenly, the insults made sense. The confidence. The way she looked at me like I owed her silence. That evening, Lily showed me a crumpled drawing from her backpack. It was of our little apartment, drawn in careful lines. Above it, she'd written, "This is still home." I hugged her tightly, resolve settling in my bones. I wasn't just fighting for dignity anymore. I was fighting for justice. And as I drafted a message to Nadine, asking for a meeting, my tone calm, controlled, I knew the next conversation would change everything. Because this time, I wasn't showing up to beg. I was showing up with proof. What I didn't realize yet was that Nadine's cruelty was only the surface, and confronting her would unravel far more than stolen money. We met at a cafe Nadine liked, expensive, minimalist, full of people who spoke softly and judged loudly. She arrived late, sunglasses on, confidence wrapped around her like armor. "I don't have long," she said, sitting. "So if this is about the party." I slid the bank documents across the table. Her smile faltered. Just for a second. But it was enough. "You stole from me," I said quietly. "From Dad's account. From Lily's future." She laughed, sharp and brittle. "You wouldn't have known what to do with it." Something in me snapped, not explosively, but cleanly. "You don't get to decide my worth." I told her everything I knew. About the account. About the records. About the lawyer I'd already contacted. Her face drained of color as she realized this wasn't an empty threat. People were watching now. "Fix this," I said. "Or I will." For the first time in my life, Nadine looked afraid. Weeks later, the money was returned. Not with an apology, but with silence. My mother called less. Family gatherings stopped including me altogether. And strangely, I felt lighter. I paid off debts. Reduced my hours. Took Lily on a small weekend trip, nothing fancy, just a place with trees and quiet. She laughed more there. So did I. I started therapy. Learned how long I'd mistaken endurance for strength. Learned that protecting my child meant modeling self-respect. One afternoon, Lily came home smiling. "I told a girl at school she couldn't make fun of my shoes," she said proudly. "I said they're mine, and that's enough." I knelt and hugged her, tears finally falling without shame. I didn't need Nadine's approval anymore. Or my mother's. I had my voice back. And as I stood in our small kitchen that night, sunlight spilling through the window, I realized something powerful. The party had never been about exclusion. It had been the beginning of my freedom. And the next time someone smirked and tried to make my daughter feel small, they would learn just how dangerous a quiet woman can become once she decides to stand.